Bitcoin needs to be exciting because it provides a utility that no other technology provides. The value transfer technology, and the value transfer technology needs to be embedded in every application in the world, period. That's super exciting.
What if the time of Bitcoin's ideological adoption is over? What if the narrative of the cypherpunks has reached its end, has reached its natural saturation? What if talking the talk has taken us as far as it can? But what if the tools have also reached a point where we can actually give the user everything we have promised was coming? What if we can provide cheap, fast, instant, offline payments and a immediate social experience people can receive and send in a fully non-custodial, sovereign way, and in a way that can scale essentially as far as we need it to? What if that exists today? And what if we also have the tools, we have the AI, we have the vibe coding capability of using these libraries, these SDKs, to easily build with it, to vibe code everything that we could want into existence? And this all exists right now. What would that mean about what we should be doing and what this era of Bitcoin is? It's long overdue, but I'm very excited to bring Roy Sheinfeld back on the show to talk about the Breeze SDK, to talk about Spark, to talk about the shift they have taken with their SDK and how they think about the role and the place in the user experience and in the infrastructure that their system is, and why Roy thinks they've found the sweet spot and they've solved the last mile on nearly every single problem, and it's ready to be used. This was overdue. I'm very glad I reached out just in a general conversation about something entirely different, which we talk about in the show, because this was a fantastic episode. And it made me realize that some of the tools are in a place that I had not realized they are already. Things that even I hope to build or implement are actually way closer than I had suspected. This is going to be a great chat. Stay tuned. Really quick, I want to thank our amazing sponsors. We have Ledin.io. I have a link down in the show notes. This is for Bitcoin-backed loans. If you're trying to build something and you want to make an investment in this space, a Bitcoin-backed loan is your best friend. Your job is to provide more value to Bitcoin, build something real in this space, make that money back, and hold on to your Bitcoin because you're trying to add value to Bitcoin. If you have an investment that you know will beat an interest rate, but you don't think will actually beat Bitcoin, this is the way to do it. A Bitcoin-backed loan. Check them out. There's a link down in the show notes, and that's a huge help to my show as well because it lets them know that I sent you. Then also, for tools to use in doing this, Synonym has built a PubKey. PubKey.app is kind of the proof of concept, but this is a protocol stack for decentralized communication, identity, DNS, like all of these things. How do you build the web and all of its services, but decentralized and without central control? It's a fantastic and wild set of primitives that if you are a builder, you need to look out very closely. Link and details in the show notes. Lastly, and then also Chroma, getchroma.co. I still have a 10% discount with them. Bitcoin Audible. We just had our second Skylight Mini come in. My wife is very excited, and I'm glad to have mine back because I've been letting her borrow it. I ordered late, and so it shipped in January. So I get mine back, and excited to have that. They have really fantastic lights. Really, if you're serious about light health, which I think you should be, check them out. 10% discount. Again, code right down in the show notes. And lastly, the Human Rights Foundation, what they do for freedom and liberty around the world. The people in Venezuela and Machado, The AHRF is an incredible organization, and they have a wonderful newsletter, the Financial Freedom Report. I'll subscribe to that, as well as tickets for the Oslo Freedom Forum this year, June 1st to 3rd. You'll find it all right down in the show notes. With that, like I said, this is going to be a great conversation. I got an enormous amount of value out of this conversation. I can't believe that I did not know a couple of simple things about the direction they had gone that I had heard, but I just didn't recognize exactly what it was. It's fantastic. If you listen to the show and you know about some of the older tools that we've talked about that you hadn't heard anything about, and you were wondering if anything would ever come of them, and you love the idea of potential for private, for eCash in full reserves, for offline payments, for basic Lightning URL receive with no forwarding, no liquidity requirements or issues, simple onboarding, and simple payments in any amount or size. And it's just a ubiquitous, basic, easy to implement experience. If that's what you were looking for, if you were looking for digital cash in the whole stack and for Bitcoin to make that possible, this is the show. This is the set of tools. I want to use this and see if it does actually all of those things that we talked about today. But I'm more excited than I have been in a while, because it feels like the things that we've been talking about for years are actually here. Now it's time to build. This is Chat 157 with Roy Sheinfeld. It's time to walk the walk. Dude, Roy, welcome back to the show. It's been a minute, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been a while. I can't even remember when there was the last time I was on the show. I think it was at least, I want to say 3 years ago, but I'm not sure.
Damn, has it been that long?
Yeah, I think so. You keep reading my article, which is nice.
True.
So I'm on your show without being physically on your show. But I think I think it was 2022, if I remember correctly, last time I was on.
Dude, is that's a bookshelf behind you, right?
Yeah.
What's your favorite? What book are you reading right now? What's one that's been fresh recently?
I read a book called I read in Hebrew, so I think it's Gentleman in Moscow.
Gentleman in Moscow.
I don't read nonfiction, which is surprising to many people. I only read fiction.
Fiction's still my dominant. I read a lot of nonfiction, but fiction's still my dominant. Yeah.
I like kind of what literature brings me kind of is the way to see the world through someone else's lens. Kind of change perspectives. And I feel that I get that with fiction a lot more than nonfiction. So yeah, I read a lot of different genres. I'm not fixated on a specific genre. But everything, yeah. Like Friends and New Book is kind of my next to read.
I'll mark that one down. I'm looking for. I've done like 2 or 3 nonfictions, and I always have to break it up with like a good story. But I agree. There's something about story. I mean, it's what made me want to be a filmmaker and storyteller originally. Was which I'm not like giving up on that. Like I'm just kind of coming back around to it in a different way.
Nice.
But
with AI,
a little bit. That's mostly for like if we want to do an animated film. Like I think one of the beautiful things about like what AI has done, and vibe coding is actually a great example of the same sort of dynamic. Is that it's opened up, like usually you have these small, crappy, terrible, low budget projects. And then you have like your high budget Hollywood stuff. And there's like nothing in between. Like the space, there's just this huge, it's like either you're on the 18th rung of the ladder or you're on the first. And there's no other rungs in between. You can't sell anything in that zone. You can't, it sucks to build. Everything still is super expensive to make. And
Yeah.
AI has kind of like put a bunch of those rungs back on the ladder. Is that like we can actually tell a simple and beautiful story for like a 20-minute, 30-minute thing. Then we have platforms like YouTube and Rumble and, hopefully things that we have built that actually make it so that we can release it to people and share it out, and thousands of people could watch it, maybe hundreds of thousands if it's good.
Mhm.
And we can tell we can make an animated. I can take advantage of the fact that like I know how to use a camera, and I know how to put a small crew together, and we can film live footage, and with not the full set, with not, high budget, and then we can turn it animated with all of those things that we're missing. Like we can basically like there was a Corridor Digital, a really great account online, made an anime. And one of the things they did is they made their own costumes or whatever, and they made their kind of like environment in some situations, but like literally some of it was just like the shape of a thing. It was like a cardboard thing in the background that was supposed to be a tree or a something. And just having that post, that kind of like monument to where it is, allowed the AI to fill it in. And it's a beautiful kind of like a green screen without a green screen sort of element of it. So it's exciting. I think we're going to have like this renaissance of new storytellers, in the same way that the music tools or whatever created the renaissance of remixers, and like, somebody posting some one little thing on TikTok, and then like 15 random people come in and they add their stuff and they add their verse. Like that's a beautiful thing to me. I've always found that utterly fascinating and wholly unique to the idea of the internet, is that you cannot do that without social and without like everybody being connected and having that conversation. And it's amazing to me. But anyway, I think a lot of that is going to come to storytelling, and that's something that I get really jazzed about, and I want to participate in. So,
And do you think people that weren't creators before are now being able to create with AI, or
absolutely,
because yeah,
absolutely,
Yeah. So
absolutely,
it's the same.
yeah,
same with
Yeah.
coding?
yeah. Granted, I think it's the people who have the urge to tell a story. Like I think AI slop will always be AI slop.
Yeah, yeah, but there was always a skills gap, and
There's always a skills gap. Yeah.
if AI can kind of mitigate the skills gap, that would be amazing.
But yeah. So, and actually, out of curiosity, what's your take on before we kind of get into the lightning stuff? What's your take on vibe coding? I just had a conversation with Matt Hill the other day, and it was supposed to be about something totally different, and then we ended up talking for like 20 minutes on the phone, just like, dude, have you been vibe coding like shit? What have you been? And we just ended up talking about like coding with AI or whatever, because he was just talking about his productivity is
Yeah.
through the roof.
I-
He just reviews stuff, really.
I do everything with vibe coding. Like every problem that I have in my life, like in my professional and personal life, I try to vibe code a solution.
Yes.
Like it's crazy. It absolutely completely changed the way I think about problems. I'll give you an example. We're working with the Lightspark team. Look, that's the stuff that I've been vibe coding for the past 2 days. We're working with the Lightspark team on the Spark SDK. We're trying to plan 2026. Now I need to, like the CTO asked me, the Lightspark CTO Kevin asked me to give him a list of priorities. So yeah, before vibe coding, I would have taken a look at our GitHub, Slack, all or our CRM and partner interaction, and kind of compile a list based on urgency, impact, technical showstoppers, etc. Now, instead of kind of creating this list, I created a mini project that takes the GitHub information that is relevant to Spark the Slack information that is relevant to Spark, the Slack partners from the CRM, integrated everything into a site that I've built. I've been doing enterprise software for the past 25 years. I will always work with stuff like Salesforce, and it's all crap.
Mhm.
I built something in 2 days, and every company that I work with like spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on Salesforce licensing and customization. I've built in 2 days something that is far better than everything that I ever worked with.
I love it.
The ability to kind of to tailor-made an app for a specific need. And it's so powerful and so useful also kind of going forward. Now I solved this problem. I won't have to deal with documents again. And that's in every problem in my life. I kind of try to kind of to vibe code the solution, and it works really, really well. So
Yeah.
like Opus 4.5, like I don't know.
Opus 4.5, man. I build scripts for everything.
I'm speechless.
In fact, I have one modularizing, breaking, like really as we talk right now. I'm sure it'll probably take like 45 minutes. So I'm just like hitting enter to make sure like it's doing what I want it to do. But I'm doing one that's taking apart a few scripts that I have written separately. My favorite thing is organizing stuff, is building my own custom organization and workflows for the stuff we're doing for the show. And to organize through footage, like editing. Like one of the biggest things of editing is that even if you have a lot of elements, like you have like music or video clips or audio clips, or you name little icons or whatever, it's so hard to, especially animations, it's so hard to sort through them. It is so hard to sort through them. It's just like, it's like going to your storage unit and it's all just nothing but, imagine if you just put everything in like a grocery bag. Like you didn't, it's not like organized boxes with labels or whatever. You just, everything was in a grocery bag and you just like stacked them all up, and the storage unit is just full of crap. That's what I feel like when I go to it and be like, all right, well, where's my stuff? I don't know. Might as well just go search it online and download a new version of it, And, some of these, one of the really fascinating things about how vibe coding changes things, in my opinion, is that I create software that a lot of time wouldn't even be like really something to share. It's like not software as a product.
Personal.
It's just software 100% for me.
Yeah.
Like I have a personal developer who can just build stuff very, very quickly.
Exactly.
Entirely specific to my situation and my environment or whatever.
Exactly. I do try to generalize a bit. For example,
I do. I would like to.
I wanted the kind of, I didn't know which film to watch. So again, like within the vibe coding spirit, okay, how do I can Google for new movies, or I can build a recommendation engine using my own personal taste in order for me to recommend.
That's a good one I haven't thought of yet. Oh, that's a great one.
And I did it I did something like Tinder for movies. Like it gives you, in order to learn your taste, like it gives you to pick from like popular movies. Then you pick the movies that you like,
fantastic.
And then it fine tunes, and you can add movies that you just watched, indie films and stuff like that, and then kind of it tunes into your personal taste, and it works like magic. I cook with AI. I submit documents to the IRS with AI. I do everything. AI everything.
I got a question about the recommendation engine. Is how on the back end are you actually like putting those two together? Because that's something that the kind of open source or like self-hosted sort of tools really have never had. Plex and Kodi and Jellyfin and these things. And this is something that's actually deeply tied into where we want to go with PairDrive. Is like PairDrive is kind of like the app itself is just, how do you make file syncing and file sharing simple and kind of intuitive? But that's the app. The core is more about how do you make it so that you can build a bunch of these single purpose apps and have peer-to-peer, direct peer-to-peer and like contacts and all of that stuff built in so that you don't have to think about how do you just use it as an API very simply. A Breeze SDK for P2P kind of. So one of the things though is that like I want to get to the point where I can watch. One of my issues is that like I'll have my Plex running on my Linux machine, and especially for shows that our son watches a lot, we hate that we have to bring it up, and then he gets all these commercials, and some of the catalog will just disappear randomly. It's just like, oh, 4 seasons of your favorite show are just not on this thing anymore, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. We have to go find it somewhere else. And like, I just don't, we want to control YouTube. God knows YouTube will just start playing some random horrible thing that be like, oh my God, please cut this off. My son should not be watching this, and boil his brain. And so like I'll download a version of it and put it on Plex so he can watch it. But if my Linux machine goes down, it's all unavailable. And sometimes it does. Sometimes I'm meant to reboot something, or I've used too many AI tools and it's, hit the bucket. But the beautiful thing about it, if you did it on, if we build a pair drive version that's, not got all the other features, but it's just literally just a player connected to a drive with some films or media or family photos in it, is that if I have another device that's still like my MacBook is still online that has like 70% of the stuff, or let's say I have this is like, this series that he loves to watch is the important one, and let's back it up on 3 different machines. Well, if it goes down on my Linux, it's still available from the other 2 machines.
Mm-hmm.
It's BitTorrent streaming, but for your devices and for your network. So like, that's like a really critical thing to fix. But one of the things I'd really love to be able to add is a recommendation engine. Is it like, okay, we've watched these things, we like these movies and stuff. How do we collect our own data? How do we build our own algorithms that these huge platforms have basically sucked up our experience for? And this is like the perfect little tool for that, because it's so simple. And you could even have like a partner app of like, what's your favorite movie? And you could have a session.
Sure.
You're just like,
yeah.
Do you like these? What are these 50 movies do you like? And you just do a Tinder swipe right and left thing real quick.
Or readjust your recommendation based on the people that you follow in terms of
exactly
other recommendations.
That too. Yeah. But like that's the beauty of it, is that you can all of these things that have been like,
and it's easy. It's easy. Now you have an idea like that. Like, it's crazy idea.
Yeah.
Like, if you had to do that like 2 years ago, it would require hundreds of thousands of dollars at least, and a team of developers. Now, in a matter of hours, you can have a working prototype, if not a fully featured application.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
No, I feel so empowered. Of course, there will be costs, and there will be rubbish software out there, and we'll have to figure it out. But I think the boost that it will bring humanity is enormous. So
it's wild. It's wild. Everybody who wants to, and this is why I think like this is the time to be building privacy tools on top of Bitcoin, because it's one of the big fights that we are fighting, and we are going to have to continue to fight. And the only way is to basically outbuild the regulation. That's one of the beautiful things about Lightning, is Lightning has privacy, but it's not a coin join service. It's just we put privacy into the protocol. So when I pay somebody, they do not know who I am. They do not need to know who I am. They need to know that my money is there and it is confirmed. And I love that. When I use, for my business stuff, I use Wasabi basically every time I go to, I'll leave it in there for a good while, and I'll cycle through, a couple of rounds or whatnot, until I move it to my business wallet, because I get paid, and then I also pay a lot of people on chain. And it's kind of frustrating to do all of that, because as soon as I pay somebody, they see the rest of my wallet. Like they see the rest of like what's going on. They can look at that address and see what it's attached to. And I don't want people to see balances. I don't want people to see like, oh, I pulled this from savings, or this is how much I got paid by this sponsor or something like that. Like I might share that one day, but that's not, it's not their choice, it's my choice. So I have to think about that very seriously on chain. And then whenever somebody's like, I have to pay somebody like $1,500 or whatever. I always ask, can you do it over Lightning? Because I keep enough on Lightning because it's just like, that just makes me super happy. Even if it costs me a little bit more, because I know I don't have to think about that step.
Just keep in mind that Lightning, there are privacy deficiencies as well. Like it's not perfect in terms of privacy.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure with the level of nodes and volume and activity that we have now right in Lightning, how private it actually is. So people, like the fact that everything is based on HTLCs, and HTLCs basically share the payment secret between nodes, and nodes can track payments. So if you have a couple of nodes, enough nodes scattered around the network, you can have a pretty good idea on the activity that is going on. And I won't be surprised if companies like Chainalysis and others aren't actively running nodes and trying kind of to understand the flows. And Lightning is a protocol, but it's also an implementation. So when you talk about Lightning, we need to ask, okay, how is Lightning is actually being used? So when they pay you with Lightning, how do they actually pay you? Because if they pay you through custodial solutions, of course, custodial solutions know everything. But even if they pay you through non-custodial solutions, if they pay you through Phoenix, for example, who does trampoline payments, they know the destination. So it's very, I think the biggest advantage when we talk about privacy and Bitcoin is your ability to own your software, to run your own nodes, because once you start 100%. Outsourcing it, then you always compromise on.
That always comes with,
trust, sovereignty, privacy implications. That it's okay. It's okay. Even the solutions that we're using, like I brought the LSP model to market. LSP is not great in terms of centralization. It's not great in terms of trust. It's not great in terms of privacy. But it enables a smoother, seamless user experience. So there's always trade-offs, but you need to be very transparent about the trade-off. You need to understand and know what's going on if you care about privacy. I think kind of that's the key message. Don't think because you're using Lightning, you're protected. Or because you're using Bitcoin, you're protected. Or because even you're using Monero, you're protected. Understand, if you care about privacy, you need to understand what you're doing.
Yeah, you have to be very pointed and
knowledgeable,
directed about what, and knowledgeable about exactly what and how you're using it. Because like it's easy for me to say because like I do know all of those caveats and when I am actually using something privately and when I'm not. So I thank you for actually bringing that up because I know a lot of people can actually misunderstand. And my point with using it was specifically in the context of when I'm making payments to somebody, is that like I recognize if I use Phoenix most likely knows my destination. I think they actually do the routing, if I'm not mistaken, for me.
It's a trampoline payment. So basically they execute
they find the route and find my receiver and then push that for me. So like I am aware of that in the context of the service, but my thinking or my mention of it was purely in the context of like, if I pay someone out of my self-hosted wallet, they have the address, they can look it up in Mempool and then they can see where it came from. If I pay them over Lightning, they simply can't.
They have no idea.
They have no idea. And obviously I'm subject to Phoenix or whatever I'm using, or like maybe somebody can like pull something together on the network. That's whatever. That's beside the point. Yeah,
exactly. But in terms of kind of protecting your balance from their recipients, then yes, of course it's better. Although you can do that in Bitcoin as well if you're knowledgeable, but it's harder to do. I agree.
I agree. Let's get into what's going on with the Breeze SDK, because the reason I was immediately like, man, we should have a show, was because I asked you. Everything seems to be in relation to ParaDrive these days. That's all, and I probably people are sick of hearing me talk about it because I bring it up every damn show. But it's like what I'm spending so much of my time thinking about and trying to get solutions for. And I don't even have anything to give to people really. Like we have kind of a proof of concept, like it works, but there's so many and so many issues. Like one of the things it literally does right now is, which I could fix this in an hour if I cared about it, but we're refactoring, so it's like whatever. But it like hashes the entire folder of stuff. The polling is not supposed to rehash. It's supposed to check like modified and size and like a bunch of different things to know if it needs to rehash stuff to get a new file hash, and it doesn't. So every time it polls again, it literally rehashes stuff. So if I'm like sharing a huge folder with like a ton of stuff, it's basically mining my hard drive like Bitcoin. It's just like hashing stuff all over again.
You're not using an RSIC protocol underneath the Pair implementation? Like, what's the architecture?
Right now, we just have a proof of concept. We're changing a whole bunch of things. We're using Blake 3 hashes. We have a bunch of different solutions to this. Like, this is not a permanent or serious issue. And like I said, I could vibe code the problem out of it very, very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's just funny because I'm still on an old version, and every once in a while I'll come in here and I'll be like, oh yeah, I left Pair drive running. And I'll be aware of it because my little hard drive is going. But so in the context of Pair drive though, I wanted to ask. I reached out to you and asked about receiving Lightning offline because I think the no-brainer for the future where things are going is like we have to figure out how to put in monetization and seamless payments into things that have never had it, and that always should have. And I feel like the ability to deliver, like when people like go up on a platform, a perfect example is Amazon and Audible. Like Audible's a great network. Like I'm not even shitting on them. Like honestly, they can charge what their platform and their network is worth. They have the audiobook network just completely, like they are the king and they're good at it. And I like putting my stuff on the platform. But they take 60% and the author and the narrator split the remaining 40. Like the people who make the content get paid the least on that platform. And that's actually a generally good split. If you look at stuff like Spotify and like music, it's way worse. I mean, we're talking like sometimes 5%. And then you have a record like you're cutting stuff between so many different middlemen. There should be a way, especially in the age of the internet.
Of internet money, right?
Yes, of internet money. And
what you said about, I wrote an article called, I don't know if you read it on your show, called The Utility of Bitcoin.
I think I did.
Essentially, one of the claims that I'm making in the article is that applications like this type of marketplaces, like Audible, Spotify, OnlyFans, Uber, you mentioned, you name it, and that doesn't really matter which marketplace you're talking about. They're essentially payments apps. Like the core functionality that they provide,
that's what they are.
They allow you to transfer money. And at the age, why? Because basically payments and the fiat world thinks about the world in the notion of payments. And what's a payment? Payments is an instruction to settle a debt. You can't give someone value without a debt. It can be like, if you're a merchant, I can pay you. If you're my employee, I can pay you. If the money needs to move in a pre-authorized designated patterns, because one, there's no transfer value without a debt when it comes to the fiat world. That's one. Secondly, it's not a transfer value. It's an instruction. You give someone else an instruction to transfer value. So basically, it needs to be pre-authorized. So money moves only in this kind of pre-authorized patterns. And Audible, Spotify, OnlyFans, what do they do basically? They authorize specific paths. So if the sender and receiver are on the same platform, then value can move. What Bitcoin can do, and it's not being manifested in a world today, but what Bitcoin can do, and that's kind of where I see the value proposition of Bitcoin. It allows you to actually implement native internet money, value transfer in the way that we have cash in the physical world. When you go in the street and you want to give a handout to someone, you can. If you want to give your kid an allowance, you can. No one limits you to do whatever you want with your physical cash. And that's the same way that internet money should work. So if you want to bring it to ParaDrive, you should be able to bring it to ParaDrive without any approval, authorization for any fintech company or which that take their own cut for allowing you. There's a reason Spotify takes 60-70%. And there's a reason that all this, because they need to pay the entire chain of approvals, the banks, the fintech companies, and so on. It's a complete mess. And I can't avoid the cliche of saying Bitcoin fixes it.
but it does, right?
But it does. Like the actually thing that Bitcoin can fix is bringing back, reclaiming cash in the digital world, basically.
Yeah. And this really is like the thing, because we are in the era. Like, you think about it, I always think about history and like kind of technological eras, and where, a lot of people think they're like, oh, the internet is centralized and it's done, the BitTorrent era or whatever, the decentralized era is over and we're re-centralizing. And I always see it as like, no, what centralized and why? Because that's where the next breakthrough is.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great framework to think about innovations.
Yeah. And I think we're on this constant stair step of like we break down, we decentralize or solve a problem into this new kind of like more sovereign environment. But then those things that we didn't figure out, or the pieces that were left undone, or the pieces where we didn't even know how we were going to use it, like we were immature in this new space of technology. Okay, well then centralization finds those solutions quicker by developing a service and then paying for the service. It's like, okay, and then those get huge and then dependent, because it's like, oh, this is actually the way we use the internet. It's actually social. It's actually, it's like how to have payment rails and build networks. And now we have everybody in the middle where they literally own the network. They own our friends list. They own our identity and then connect us. And then because of that, well, what are the consequences? Well, they control it. They can censor it. They can surveil it. And they can be in the middle of every transaction. They can charge whatever % they want.
Exactly. It's getting more expensive. You're being more dependent. You have less freedom. And then you decentralize that. You have a framework to explain all ways of kind of interacting with utility in the world. I think it's a great framework. And to answer your technical question on a very small scale, it's happening in Lightning as well. So if we take a step back and take a look at Lightning is a solution to speed Bitcoin payments, to do them on scale and with instant settlement. And it started very decentralized. Everyone can run their own nodes, and they will have a peer-to-peer network of Lightning nodes, and everyone will run a node, and everyone will be able to pay everyone in a completely decentralized manner. Then, because the UX didn't meet to the expectations that the users are accustomed to, rightfully so, then it became centralized through centralized nodes, centralized services, and the concept of a Lightning service provider. Even that didn't provide a sufficient user experience. So we kind of broke to other centralized services, and that's what's going on right now with Spark and Arc and other sub-networks, I call them. That Lightning is just kind of what I call the common language. It's the protocol on top of this different sub-network, but each sub-network is very centralized. So the next step in the evolution of the sub-network is that the sub-networks themselves going to be decentralized. And then something else will be centralized and decentralized and centralized.
Yeah. It's this great breathe in and breathe out of technological movement.
Yeah, it's a common dialectic that happens with every technology enhancement. So I think you're right to put at least kind of the communication software in that prism.
Yeah. And but because of that specifically, I think we're due, and with the convergence of Bitcoin, Lightning, Arc, vibe coding, like all of that, like it could not be riper for the move back to undermining to thinking about Audible as dated, to thinking about Spotify and everything through Apple iCloud and everything through these platforms. Like we're there. Like if we're not building and thinking about that, then you're missing the biggest opportunity, I think.
Yeah, but again, in order to put the things in the right perspective and to apply them to your framework of centralization and then decentralization, so we're decentralizing the front end or even the service itself, but the data is becoming more centralized, right? Through AI that owns basically all the data. So we'll have to decentralize AI, and then it will come with a cost of a different user experience, and then we'll have to kind of centralize again. So I think it's common dialectics that happens when you have technology breakthroughs.
Yeah. I also want to say just I've always loved the articles and keeping up with everything that you guys are doing. And I felt like the framework, the kind of like mental picture framework that you laid out, I don't know, 5 years ago now. I'm like back when you were starting Breeze more than anything. And then obviously the language is Lightning is the common language. Article kind of brought the whole picture full circle. It's just so perfectly and obviously true. In fact, it's so obviously true that it's not even thought about anymore. Like people don't even ask, can you pay a Lightning invoice? Even the people who bitch about Lightning or say it's like it's not ready or it doesn't work, everybody knows that the only reason Arc is going to be successful is because everything talks Lightning, because like you're going to be able to pay Lightning invoices over it. And I just find it hilarious that before there was any real debate and sense of like, is there going to be competition or which thing's going to be best? It's like, oh no, Arc is better than Lightning or whatever. It's like, well, no, Arc is only useful if it talks Lightning. eCash is only useful if you can pay a Lightning invoice. Like all of it's useless if it doesn't talk Lightning already.
It's the evolution of Lightning. So if Lightning itself is decentralized, is actually centralized in order to solve user experience issues, now we found out that we can outsource the technical implementation of Lightning to different other architectures, and we teach these platforms, these networks to speak Lightning, and then they become part of Lightning. That's basically the reclaiming that I did with Lightning is the common language. It helps Lightning because I think it helps also kind of the Lightning network. So let's differentiate for the sake of this conversation. Let's call the language Lightning and the actual implementation of the language Lightning network. So R can speak Lightning, but Lightning network is the Lightning nodes that are connected to each other using payment channels. So I think if you focus the Lightning network on what it really does best, and basically building the railways and the kind of the highways and the bridges between these different subnetworks, then that's what it does best. Like that's the forte of Lightning. Lightning works well with high frequency channels. So it works well with it when it needs to deal with a lot of velocity of payments. it doesn't work well if you try to bring it. And we did it. Like I had to do it in order to understand how can I stretch the limits of technologies. But we tried to bring Lightning to every end user, and it didn't work well. Like it worked somewhat well, but not to the extent that I can scale it to millions of users. So if we kind of outsource the end user interaction to a subnetwork and connect the subnetwork to Lightning, and Lightning connect other subnetworks as well, and so we get decentralization, like native decentralization, because users are using different subnetworks, and even each subnetwork can be run by multiple providers. Then I think Lightning shines. And what we see now, like the renaissance of Lightning, is because I think Lightning was repurposed to be this type of network, like the tissue that connects between the different subnetworks. And of course, large exchanges, large nodes can interact between themselves to settle. And that's not the problem. The problem is how you scale Lightning. And I think once you kind of have the notion of Lightning is the common language, and you understand that Lightning is not just a Lightning network, it's not just an implementation of this protocol, but the protocol can be extended to other subnetworks with different trust profiles, then you get the most out of Lightning.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's also funny too, is that we have these kind of like rose-colored glasses every time we create some large new or a new innovative idea or a new thing, and it's like, oh, this is going to be the thing. You know, like Bitcoin, everybody's going to use Bitcoin on chain. Everybody's going to have direct like payment directly to their address or whatever, and then that kind of runs its course until we start hitting a wall. And then we have this big debate, and we realize that there's this enormous trade-off between that vision and the reality, the technical reality of actually pulling that off.
Yeah.
And then we basically did the exact same thing with Lightning. Is it like, oh, well, it's Lightning. It's like, well, and I think also just in standing back is like, just look at the financial system, look at the global financial system, look at the history of money, look at the history of the development of the financial system. Nick Bhatia's layered money is perfect for this. If you just want to kind of get an assessment or a thought about like how many layers and how deeply complex all of this is. Yep. Bitcoin was never going to solve this problem with
broken
2 layers.
Money by Lin, like
never. Yeah.
Yeah. Never. Yeah. I agree. But like again, like I was always try to be realistic and transparent about the limitations. But you need to understand that we live in a world. Like I don't blame Elizabeth Stark or who else would that kind of hype Lightning. Like they have to.
Yeah, I was about to say you have to get to the next point, to get to the next stage.
Exactly. You need the financing. You need to draw attention. You want users. You want to progress through interaction. So kind of the way that software works these days is to draw attention. So how can you draw attention without hyping something? But I think everyone that was very early into Lightning understood very quickly kind of the limitations of Lightning. We tried kind of to mitigate it the best we could with bringing new concepts, new ideas, even using mobile notifications or LSPs or running nodes on devices or whatever was the solution. But it was kind of very clear, and I wrote about it also in some of my articles in the past, that the economics when it comes to end user, like the fact that you kind of by design misallocate liquidity when you open a payment channel. I think we understood very quickly that it can't really scale, but it's a dialect that you have to do with the market, and in order to allow other ideas and technologies to flourish as well. And luckily now we have very exciting new technologies.
Yeah. And I also think too, in a consideration is that it is true up to the point that it reaches its scaling limit, or that it hits the point where the friction is greater than the benefit. So like Bitcoin was true that you could do everything on chain and you could do Satoshi's dice and I guess prior to Satoshi's dice really, is that you could just have internet cash and nobody had to think about it. You just sent it and it was cheap and it was, free essentially. And then we hit the point where we found its usage and friction overcoming each other, right? Like where the point where one's scaled faster than the other and then they cross and you're like, oh, this is not exactly, it's only in this zone over here that this is actually true. And when you hit this zone, a whole different truth emerges. And Lightning has that kind of same element. Like I've used on-chain and self-hosted Lightning, but if you're not actually like using it, like if you're just a casual user, there's a huge, like you said, misallocation of resources because you have to offer up liquidity to get them to receive. And one of the ways to get people passively to be interested in something is for them to be able to receive.
But they can't be also receive only.
Exactly.
Because the Lightning works with high frequency, but also kind of bidirectional channel, the best. So if you receive only, that's also an issue. You need kind of
there needs to be movement. There needs to be activity.
It needs to flow like both directions in order for it to be optimized. And that's kind of the definition of a routing node. There's no problem with the routing node because by definition, inherently, that's the function of a routing node. It moves it moves the funds on both directions.
But users are different.
Users have different patterns. So initially, I did the SDK. We did an SDK on Greenlight, where the node is hosted in the cloud and the keys are reside on the device. And I thought that I'll be able to identify specific patterns and match the right liquidity pattern from an LSP standpoint. So we had kind of a notion of an open LSP model where different LSPs can plug into our SDK and provide liquidity. And users I thought will be coming from different verticals with different liquidity requirements. Exactly like you have like commercial banks and private banks and retail banks that offer kind of different financial products depending on their users. I thought we'll have kind of the same mix and match pattern in Lightning, but Lightning is it might happen in the future, but we're not at a stage that Lightning is so popular that we can verticalize it that level. That's kind of the problem.
Yeah. This is not something that's dead at all. But like
dead. It's better than ever, Lightning.
No, I'm not meaning Lightning. I'm meaning this way of tackling, like addressing Lightning to the user. What would be the postmortem on why you think, again, and you already hit 2 points on it basically, on why you think that's not the strategy to go, at least when it comes to the point that like you're having to, because I think there's like a couple elements is that the service provider is having to put up risk and liquidity to make the user experience good for the people who are specifically the least involved, the least interested. And that's the only way to deliver them the experience where they might actually get interested.
Yes. You need to be at least on par in user experience with other financial products, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
If I'm running an e-commerce site and I need to choose between Stripe and accepting Bitcoin payments, I want Bitcoin payments to at least the very minimum to have not to mention 10x. But let's say Bitcoin, because it's people want to accumulate Bitcoin, and Bitcoin inherently has better properties than fiat money. Let's say that what drives people towards Bitcoin. But the experience of accepting money needs to be at least on par with fiat solutions. And
Yes.
and take a solution like, I don't know if you saw Money Dev Kit.
Yeah. Well, not in super depth. In fact, maybe especially for the audience, go over it, because I had somebody link me to it not too long ago. Was it you? Did you send it to me?
Maybe, I don't know. A very cool solution by Nick Slaney, the former the former LSP guy at Spiral.
Yeah.
So the solution is kind of similar to Greenlight, like they run your node on their infrastructure, but you still keep the private keys, and they hit your server. It's a serverless solution. So they hit your service every time you accept the payment, for you to accept the payment, to actually sign the transaction and send the pre-image. So that's the way that they solve the offline problem in Lightning, is by targeting users that don't have offline problem, meaning people that are running e-commerce sites, so they can interact with a webhook to accept payments, and they do all the LSP service behind the scenes. But where it falls short, it's not. I think we can optimize the user experience, and we did it with Greenlight. We did. I think other solutions that are coming based on LDK can, even if you run something in a trusted execution environment that is still considered self-custodial. I mean, from a key signing standpoint, I think there's a variety of solutions that we can mitigate in order to solve the offline issue. But the basics, the core problem is not in the signing. The core problem is in the channel economics. The fact that someone needs to open a channel, allocate liquidity, and facilitate the money movement, that has a considerable cost, especially if they need to do splicing, if they need to close channels, if they need to reallocate the funds. That also incurs a lot of cost. And by the end of the day, it's not the most efficient way to accept payment. So if you take a look at Money Dev Kit, I think their fee is 2%. 2%. That's different than your typical credit card fee, right? Like, so everything comes with a cost. And I think I always was very prominent about advocating for the best tool for the job. When it comes to end user, low frequency, one direction payment flows, payment channels are not the best solution.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I've felt for a long time, and we've talked about it. I'm sure I probably read a piece of yours that talked about it too. Is that channel factories, like essentially offline channels or arrangements where liquidity can move without actually going back to chain.
Yes.
Where, a service provider or someone can open a channel with me and you. And then if you end up needing more receive capacity than I do, it can just be taken from me and delivered to you without actually going to the chain. Was always a necessity.
Yes.
Like from the very outset, the economics of Lightning demanded that has to happen, or there's going to be the liquidity cost of actually running the Lightning network. It's going to be like 3x or 5x reserve always, just to fulfill basic payments, and that just is unsustainable. The cost, the time cost of having liquidity locked up.
And liquidity, like I allocate personally, like for Breeze, we allocate hundreds of Bitcoins in order to facilitate end user interaction. It doesn't scale. And another article I wrote was about Spark and Arc being the channel factories we always wanted. So another way of looking at these sub-networks that I was mentioning, these are basically channel factories. like
hmm
you call them Arc, you call them Spark, but basically, essentially,
They're channel factories.
the channel factories. Yeah, it's the
They're
kind of
channel factories.
the
Yeah.
next gen channel factories,
Yeah.
and that's the way to coordinate liquidity offline, but you're still connected to the Lightning Network. And every
hmm
channel factory can have different implementation, different trust assumption, and whatever. But basically, there are channel, like if you are familiar with the concept of channel factories, these are fulfilling the goals of
That's
channel
exactly
factories.
what they do. Yeah. That's
That's exactly what
what they do.
Yeah.
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 No, 100%. 100%. That's the whole idea of the subnetwork.
They can do more.
Yeah.
They can do stablecoins inside the factory, and they can do offline scripting inside the channel factory. They can do a lot of
hmm
other cool features that kind of out of the realm of Lightning, but still in the sense of moving value in the Lightning Network, these are channel factories.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to ask them, because this is the question that I asked you that got me thinking, okay, we need to test this out here, or have a conversation about it, is because in pair drive specifically, obviously, I do want to implement Bitcoin, but I know nobody's going to use it if it doesn't meet the expectation of just like easy to use offline payments, like basic.
Mhm.
And like I can be a quote unquote service provider. Like we could put up servers and stuff, especially through pair drive, because we wouldn't necessarily need a DNS. We could have a distributed thing that's on a bunch of different machines spread across. So I could probably be a service provider easier than most, just because of the idea of pair drive itself. But I would like to avoid the regulatory hurdles. I don't want to do KYC on anybody, and it's not even just that I'm philosophically against KYC. It's that I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to be holding thousands, hundreds of thousands of users, millions of users' data. Like, God, Jesus.
Also,
like,
you want to pay the licenses fees for FinCEN and it's crazy to have a regulated service.
It's insane. It's insane. So that's not what I want to build. Like that's not the realm I want to play in. And unfortunately, to do anything,
that's why you have one Audible, one Spotify, one Uber.
Exactly.
That's the reason these platforms are centralizing. The moat is the facilitation. Looping back to the beginning of our conversation, the moat is the payment rails. Actually, it's not about the tech. With vibe coding, of course, it's not about the tech. It's just about the infrastructure to facilitate value transfer.
Yeah, 1,000%, 1,000%. So I asked you, obviously, my top three of usually my first of okay, what tool do I use in Lightning?
Who are the other two?
Probably Matt Matt Hill. I request a lot of details on, just because he plays with a lot of tools like me, and he's always getting stuff on Start 9. But anyway, so it's like, how do I accept Lightning, or how do I implement Lightning, and specifically or hopefully Nostr compatible, which we might have to build a NIP or something for some stuff, because Liquid is not Nostr native, but I would love for that to kind of be a part of the story too. But what's the best way to do this offline, to have these things talk together? And that's when you brought up the changes that y'all had done that I wasn't even aware of, and how y'all have integrated Spark, and even a Spark token, which I didn't know about that. I wanted to give you, basically, I'm giving you that same question again, and I want you to expand on the answer that you gave me, so that I have a full picture in my mind.
Sure. So, but before I kind of drill down into your specific problem, I just want kind of to have to give you an overview about where we are as a company, because there's a lot of misconceptions, like the fact that we're a Lightning company, and everything that we're doing is with us putting the Lightning cap on. We talked about Lightning evolving from Lightning Network to Lightning as a language. So Breeze as a company also evolved from being on a Lightning Network only implementation to implementing other subnetworks. So we had the Lightning native SDK based on Greenlight. It didn't meet user expectations. It didn't meet our expectations in terms of reliability and performance. So we deprecated Greenlight, and now through the help of and support of Steve Lee, we're working with Spiral of re-implementing a native SDK based on LDK. But this is something that is still in the works. Hopefully, it will be released later this year. And we have two additional SDKs. So the way that Breeze is operating now, it's not a single implementation solution. We have multiple SDK implementation, and we allow our partners to pick and choose the best solution that meets their criteria, because the future is, as you said, decentralized. I don't think we'll have kind of one subnetwork that controls the entire network. I think the future of Lightning is connecting different multiple subnetworks.
I think we will have subnetworks like we have subnetworks on the internet, like LANs. I think there will be, or I think it will be like how many businesses are there out there?
Or countries, cities, apartment building.
Exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, but that's exactly what we're thinking of. So we had our first implementation of this kind of subnetwork vision was Liquid. So we've built a Liquid SDK based on essentially atomic swaps that are provided by the Bolts folks. And we released that to market, and it really took off from a kind of product market fit, go-to-market standpoint. It really met the users' expectations and our partners' expectation, and we started getting a lot of implementations on top of Liquid. But Liquid has its deficiencies. One of them, as you've mentioned, is kind of, you called it Nostr compatibility. Basically, it's the ability to send and receive the R minimums in Liquid. You can't send below 21 sat, and you can't receive below 100 sats, and that makes it Nostr incompatible. But I think a bigger challenge is the fact that you don't have unilateral exit in Liquid, meaning it's not a true Bitcoin. Basically, you're using LBTC. You're using pegged Bitcoin, and you need to trust the Liquid Federation in order to facilitate the transaction.
It's a semi-decentralized Bitcoin peg, Bitcoin stablecoin. It's a federated Bitcoin stablecoin. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Which is good to some extent, but I can't say that I was kind of completely happy with this trust profile. Alongside with the minimum limits that you have to send and receive, and the fact that you don't have a true instant settlement. It's basically for large amounts, you need to wait for Liquid block confirmation, which is faster than Bitcoin. It's a minute instead of 10 minutes on average, but still, it doesn't make sense to wait a minute for large payment, because under 100K sats, you have zero coins. But it does other things very well. For example, confidential transactions. You do have confidential transactions on Liquid. You do have USDT, native USDT on Liquid. So it has its pros. And I think every subnetwork will have its pros and cons. But I didn't want to settle on this solution alone, because the future is not a single vendor solution or single subnetworks solution. And with the emerging technologies of specifically Arc and Spark, we started looking into implementing other subnetworks, and we started with Spark, working very closely with the amazing Lightspark team. And we brought the Spark SDK to market. Spark has a different trust profile than Liquid, but it does have unilateral exit, so it's a true layer 2. It doesn't have minimums amount to send and receive, and it does support, to finally answer your third drive question, it does support offline receive because of the nature of how Spark is implemented. I can go into more technical detail on how it actually works, but it's a very cool. It's very cool in that regard. You do need to trust it's called the Spark entity, not a federation. In Spark, it's a Spark entity. You need to trust the Spark entity. Spark is based on a state chain model. In state chain, you need to trust the entity that runs
Spark
the state
is
chain.
a state chain.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually an evolution of state chain. It's a federated state chain
So I did not know. This has been driving me crazy because I didn't know, and I didn't find an exact answer to this in the explanation. I don't think I saw anywhere where it said state chain. But I have heard about Spark multiple times, but I had no idea there was a unilateral exit, and I thought it was a slightly greater trust trade-off LSP type model. But I did not realize it was state chains. I have a totally different impression of this now. Okay. Because I know state chains. We've talked about state chains.
So think about it as a state chain with two improvements, basically. One, you don't have a single entity that runs the state chain. You don't have a single coordinator. So you have a Spark entity, but a Spark entity is comprised of multiple Spark operators. So they brought this model based on Frost.
Are you guys an operator in this? Are you part of it?
Not yet, but we want to be an operator.
Okay.
We want to be a Spark operator in order to mitigate the trust, because the trust model in Spark, you need to trust one out of n operators during the course of a transaction. So one honest operator is enough for you to trust Spark, and I trust me. So I want to be an operator because
an operator. Yeah.
So this is very cool in that regard. So the multiple operator is an innovation that LightSpark brought to state chain, and another very cool innovation is the tree model that they invented. So I don't know if you remember kind of the previous implementations of state chains, but you have to have the denomination, you had to know it in advance. So in order to pay,
you had to break it all down into the little pieces to then
in order to
move those pieces around. Yeah,
to move these pieces. So they do that dynamically because they kind of build in their own tree model. So if you hold some funds, you can dynamically break that and pay the necessary amount.
So you just create the hash tree as you break up funds.
Exactly.
So if you have 10,000 sats, it's just one unit. But if you want these 200 sats specifically, you just break it down to the hash of this and those 200 and then trade that. Oh, that's great. That's great. That's fantastic.
Exactly. And it works. It works fast. It works reliably. It works really well. And I know a lot of people kind of don't understand the LightSpark. It's like an alien to them because they didn't grow in the Bitcoin from the Bitcoin ecosystem, and they kind of outsiders. But I'm telling you, guy, it's a team that can execute. So they understand Bitcoin very well. They innovated on LightSpark on Spark. They made a few iterations, and they unlocked very nice issues that we all thought were blockers. And it's a great team, and it's been a pleasure to work with. And we're kind of now shipping the first production solutions to market based on Spark, and it's an absolute magic.
That's awesome. Does it still have state chains as I remember it when it was when I was looking at, was it Rubin's implementation?
What's their name of I forgot the wallet. Miranda?
Mercury?
Mercury, yeah.
Was Mercury, yeah. In fact, I probably still have some sats on Mercury. But is that it had blind signatures? Is that correct? Is that still the case? Like, what's the privacy profile?
So the privacy is not so. It continues to improve, but it's not ideal.
Sure.
Currently, when we started, there was zero privacy, and everyone could see your transactions, and I mean everyone. Like if you coming back to a problem that you've mentioned earlier,
it was like on-chain Bitcoin.
It was even worse than on-chain Bitcoin because it didn't have address rotation. So imagine.
Oh wow! Yeah. It's an account-based sort of.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And since then we improved that, and now your account is hidden from outside. Like optionally, you can hide your account from external spectators, but it's not private for. You're not private for the Spark operators. So unlike Liquid, where you have confidential transaction, your transactions aren't confidential in the context of Spark operator. So the Spark operator is your transaction is completely visible to the Spark operator, but the Spark team is working on confidential transactions as well.
Beautiful.
So this is something that we're looking to improve in 2026. But people should know that currently, if they think their transactions are private in the context of a Spark operator, that's not the case. It's kind of like Phoenix, like the trust model. If you compare it to an LSP model, it's kind of like Phoenix.
It's like they route for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And your transactions are visible to the operator, basically.
And I genuinely think too that even in the non-custodial model, which is so cool, I really had no idea the level. That's just super exciting that it's state chains. I really did not know this. And state chains interacting with Lightning is fantastic. That's a wonderful combination. It's as good or as interesting to me as Arc, and I've just mostly been. I think it's been so quiet on state chains. Like I use Mercury, but like there's no like uptake of it. Like I couldn't use it anywhere.
I also think the team moved on from Mercury.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they built it as a proof of concept, and then they were like, "Okay, cool, we did it." And, just did other things.
Yeah. By the way, when you say Arc, I know we use Arc as a code name, but there's two Arcs. There's Bark by Second, and there's Arcade by Arc Labs.
Arcade is the one that I specifically have been focusing on. Yeah.
And Arcade, I love Marco, I love Arc Labs, I like the team, and that's another SDK that we'll develop. We'll develop an SDK based on Arcade specifically.
Nice. I don't think I know about Bark.
Bark is an implementation by Second.
Okay.
What's it? Kevin and Eric are running Second. Yeah, it's also kind of a very cool company, cool technology, but I don't think they're on mainnet yet. But yeah, we might do a Bark implementation as well. I just like working with the Arc Labs team as well. Like Marco and Cooks and the entire team is just been executing like crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I don't even remember who. We reached out to a couple different people. I think we're going to be doing a show on that.
You should talk to Kira.
I believe somebody said that they can come on. I don't know. We haven't scheduled it yet, but we're going to be doing a show on Arc pretty soon.
And Chero Marco, it depends on Chero is a surname, but everyone calls him Chero. But he's fantastic.
Awesome. So you need a different SDK for each of these things, right? And so in the context of Spark,
well, we have partners that are using multiple SDKs. By the way, we have partners that are bringing Liquid and Spark into a single app.
Okay. Because I did see that, I think, in the thing about it in the blog, actually. But So walk me through the user experience for this when actually let me make a note on privacy is why I think it's critical to do a blind signature thing and or confidential transactions is because I really feel like the battle is going to be that if privacy is not built in to the very thing that is being run, especially when it comes to like, let's say I wanted to be a provider and I wanted to run it. If there is not privacy, even if it's non-custodial, I feel like there will be an enormous regulatory push to say you have to KYC.
Non-custodial is not a requirement for licensing. If you read Mika, or if you read the FinCEN, it's not about self-custody or self-hosted. It's about the facilitation of a payment. So if you're a payment facilitator, you're at a regulatory risk of requiring licensing or anything criteria. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And that's why I think that if they come and they say you have to do this, but then the way it works, just like Lightning, but if you say
I can't,
if we basically depend on the software, it's like I can't. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know how to do this. You know,
that's why
I can't determine who is using this.
Exactly.
I can't determine like other people can join. It's just software. Yeah, you know, like they can boot this up and they can start using it, and they can attempt to go the route of, well, you can't let people connect. You can't just have this open and available on the internet. But that's a different conversation. When it totally changes the game if you have privacy or blind signatures by default.
100%.
And that's why I think it's crucial.
That's why we'll have confidential transactions.
That's exactly right.
Both on Spark and Arc. Like that's exactly the reason we'll have it.
Yeah. Love it. So walk me through, let's say I'm using the SDK for Spark, and that's the one that I end up deciding on. And I want to be able to have users who can be zapped on Nostr or receive zaps and do general payments throughout the application, where I could be a provider if maybe I wanted to, but I don't have to. I'm just hands off. I'm just providing this to people as an easy tool. Walk me through the process. Walk me through how the user thinks about backups and key generation and like this sort of thing. Like what's the user experience and the trade-off?
Okay, so in terms of kind of implementing the SDK, it's really super, super easy. Like we went from weeks, partners like taking weeks to implement to partners taking days to implement. Now we have partners taking hours to implement. I mean, to production. Like we had a partner that it took them a day from requesting API key to going live to production.
That's great.
That's crazy. But the developer experience is easy. Like you have a send the payment API or receive payment API, and you just embed it in your product wherever you think you want to embed the value transfer flows. The backup is something that is actually, so it's still mnemonics. Like you need to save your mnemonics, you need to save your seed, but we're actually in the process, and we have an open PR on a new protocol that we are doing called the seedless restore, where we are using passkeys to
awesome
to give you like a passkey option in order to simplify the authentication. It works with passkeys, PRF functions specifically, and Nostr as well. So it's
sweet.
Yeah,
that makes that really easy.
I think, but Nostr is kind of behind the scene. Like you don't need the Nostr account. Like everything is kind of being implemented, created. Basically, we take the PRF of passkey can derive a deterministic mnemonics, and when you do that, you can derive from that an Nostr account, and you can derive from that the Spark private key.
Perfect. It's literally what we do. on our side is essentially that, and we also don't like the user won't really know there's Nostr unless they have some sort of technical understanding, and that's not really what it's about. It's about accounts and the ability to post publicly if they choose.
By the way, that's where Nostr shine. Like, people don't understand.
That's exactly.
When people think about Nostr as this social alternative to X, or like this social. This social app. No. Nostr is a publish subscribe protocol, and it's super powerful. If you need to interact with information, if you need to interact with data in this architecture of publish subscribe, it's perfect, and you can create and especially if you're coming from crypto, and you have this notion of keys, private keys, it's very easy to implement.
Yes, exactly. And it's another one of those things where I feel like people have this like dichotomy of like these two different spaces. It's kind of like I was talking about the Hollywood versus the home video type thing, is that there's just these two worlds and there's no ladders and there's no rungs in between. Well, I feel like we have this same arrangement of this same thought about things in our head of it's either full public, like posted on X social media where you're just broadcasting out to the whole world, or it's like mine, like when it comes to like files and like big data, and there's like there's just nothing in between, there's no scope. It's like, well, social is social, and sharing and payments and everything exists on all of those rungs. It's just that the entire 15 middle rungs are centralized platforms. It's like attack the 15 middle rungs, put those rungs back in decentralized and sovereign, and you've got a use case and you've got a UX that nobody else can match, because it's literally something nobody else, it's not being done anywhere. It's not being done except through Apple or Google, and it's awful through this. It's awful. The number of times that I just be like, all I have to do to quote unquote sell Pair Drive to normies, or the idea of it is just like, you could just do what you do with Google Drive, except without Google, and that's not even the scope of it. That's just the beginning of it. And that's all you have to do. And people are like, oh God, I hate trying to decide who can do this. And like, I share stuff and I'm like, oh my God, did I just share the wrong folder? Who can see in this thing that I'm sharing? Like my sister-in-law said she has this problem sharing videos. She has dance lessons, and they do classes, and she does custom choreography, really good at it. And she'll do videos every once in a while, and then she'll share it with the class. And everybody would be like, oh, I'm trying to get this video or something. And she'll accidentally sometimes sub-share something inside of it with somebody she didn't intend to, which is like, it's no big deal. It's a dance video. But she'll be like, how did they get access? And then also it only shares for like 30 days. And then it all expires. And then like every once in a while, she'll just be a bunch of texts from people like 30 days later. It's like, hey, I can't, where's the video? Can you post it back up? And she has to like take time out of her day to go upload it again and do another. It just, it sucks. It sucks. Anyway, sorry.
No, I agree. I suffered. I went skydiving a year ago, and I tried kind of to look for the file. Like I recorded it. They recorded it for me, and the file expired. Like the file would expire. Like, what the fuck?
So stupid.
Yeah.
And it's still out there in like a bunch of different places. Like, imagine, like, how easy is it too? Is that instead of having it, like, obviously I could still just host it myself. But if like you've got a class of like 30 people and 20 people download it, and then 2 of the remaining 10 that didn't download it come back in 20 or 30 days, there's 20 people who have it. Yes. Even if the original thing, there's 20 people who have it. Download it from them. Like, why can't you find it? Like, it just, so that's the thing that drives me crazy, is that this is not a hard problem to solve.
And I think people are sleeping on Nostr as a developer primitive, basically.
100%.
I think a lot of developers need to start thinking on how to utilize Nostr for their infrastructure, just because it has relays. It has kind of this basic model built in and figured out. And it's not perfect. It doesn't mean that we can't iterate on having specific relays for specific features, or I think Nostr also can be advanced in I think the protocol is good enough, but I think it needs to be more professional in terms of IT, in terms of backups, redundancy, fault tolerance, etc. Like there's a lot to do in terms of IT when it comes to Nostr. But let's do it. Okay. But the primitive, like the fact that it gives you out of the box, very programmable, very, very easy to use model. I don't see how it won't be successful.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing too, is that I've thought, and this is another very serious consideration with ParaDrive, because I run my own relay for Nostr that I let. Well, I take that back. I do have a star 9 where I just do my backup, but it's not one that people can connect to because it's not live on the web, right? But I do have UTXO, a friend who's built a bunch of really cool tools. Also had a service where you could pay to host a relay for a public relay. And then I had shared that just with the Audionauts so they could connect to it. And it just keeps a small subset of stuff, right? It doesn't keep the global thing.
It's a tailored relay for your purpose. Yes. That you optimize for your, exactly. I think that's the right way to think about.
I love that the relay model actually is part of Nostr because it means that it's agnostic. Nostr doesn't really care how you get the information. The relay network is just kind of an easy way to bootstrap it. But I've always thought that the relay model, the way relays work, was absolutely critical to solve. Like that there needed a very, very important solution and I didn't realize how bad it was. Like I always knew it was, but until I was talking with, I think it was JB or something, left a comment. I can't remember who it was, but with him and Damas, we were talking about this with somebody, and everybody was like, "No, relays are fine. It's great, or whatever, and we can just survive on donations." I was like, "That's not going to work." Like we have a small network, 100,000 daily active users or something, and I know, upwards of there's got to be $1,000 a month on just bandwidth and hosting costs for relays that are basically just storing forward on all of this stuff, and bots can run that cost up a lot. And JB came in, it's like, that's funny that you think it's only $1,000, like, or whoever it was that posted it. And I was like, God, it's where even because I don't host something like that, so I don't know the cost. I knew it was going to be high, but the fact that $1,000 was funny, I was like, this is a much bigger problem than even I realize.
Yeah, value has cost for sure. But what's your alternative to relay? Like the only alternative to relay or the Nostr model is a centralized server. So either you have a centralized service or you use Nostr. Like I don't think you have any other way to bootstrap a service these days.
You're right. But I think relays shouldn't be thought of as historical databases. Like they should be just live forward for the network, right? They're just broadcasters of the mempool. That's how I think the best way to
the gossip
keep them
kind of the gossip layer in Lightning.
Exactly.
They spread the information in real time. But I think you will have professional tailored purpose relays for persistency, storage, backup, fault tolerance, etc. So I think, but someone will have to pay for these professional relays to run. So either they package as a part of a service. Let's say Breeze SDK is now using Nostr in order to implement a seedless restore service. I need to offset the cost of running a relay in making money from the SDK, and that's okay. I think it's doable.
I think there's another layer, and this is me again talking about ParaDrive again, but the reason I think there's another partial and I think very critical solution to this is that if every individual person's feed is a topic on a peer-to-peer network, is that you don't necessarily have to connect to one relay or one device or something. You connect to the seeders of that topic. So like everybody's thing is an RSS feed, but then everybody who follows that RSS feed has the information that you're looking for in it. So it's BitTorrent, right? You know, if there's 1,000 followers of this one person, well, you don't have to connect to that one person to get their new posts. You connect to any of the 1,000 followers who are present to get it. And then specifically, you have you can partner off your own devices. You know, like you check your local DHT first, like because in PearDrive we build a DHT just for you and your devices, and then you have the public one as well. And you also check your local devices. Did any of my other devices pick this up already? Did my Start9 already find these posts or whatever and put them in chronological order? And you know, that sort of thing.
I don't know why there's no peer-to-peer implementation of Nostr as well. Like I think Relay can
because we're not done and nobody else appears to be doing it yet. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's a big part of what we want to do. I love Nostr and I really want to make that drop that cost significantly. And you know, maybe it comes with trade-offs. Like we'll learn as we go. You know, maybe it looks like, you know, giving end users channels. You know, like maybe there's a caveat there that it doesn't work in full, but I'm also not afraid of central servers. I'm not afraid of like services. Like it's totally fine if somebody wants to offer up something on the network and then you pay for iCloud service from that user. Like why wouldn't you? You know, like servers have a use case. They're a critical service to keeping things online. I think they should both be married into the same world, into the same protocol or language. And you just need to remove the payment centralization so that anybody can do it. Anybody can be a host. Anybody can be a payment provider. Anybody can be a payment receiver. You know, whatever. So slowly but surely. Long project that takes up enormous amount of my mind, but
you enjoy doing it.
Oh, I fucking love it. I love it, dude. I have even considered pausing the show for like 2 to 3 months just so I can go ham, like just like full on. This is all that I do until we get it out, and then the next episode be this is done. Like we have finished our 4th or 5th refactor or whatever it is, and it's finally got all of those kinks worked out, and I think it's ready for other people to build on. And that's why I haven't like really pushed the fact that it is actually on GitHub. The proof of concept is out there, but I don't think people should really use it. Not only are we going to break it, but it's just there's a lot of duct tape in it, and obviously it's just not production ready. And that's why I haven't really I don't link to the GitHub ever. Like I'm just like, if you find it, cool, look around and see what it does. But that's not the one you're going to be using. But yeah, I fucking love it. I'm consumed with it.
Yeah, but just consider, guy, that perfection is the enemy of progress. Though, so don't wait until it will be kind of.
It's not going to be perfect.
Yeah,
it's not going to be perfect. Don't get me wrong. I know, I understand that lesson too. I do.
Good enough is good enough.
Good enough is good enough. But there were just some very, very low level primitives that I thought we would bolt on after, and they just needed it to be at the bottom. And so we had to go back to the bottom, and then we were trying to figure out how to how do we take this and now stick it onto the new thing? And it was like, no, we really just gonna have to rebuild up from here. It will be released when there are still kinks and still plenty of work to do. But again, it's just without a couple of core primitives, it just wasn't. It's not quite ready yet. We're shooting for end of January, sometime in February, maybe. Deadlines are whatever they are, but we're moving much faster this time, and we know what I feel like we have a real picture of what needs to be there before we can start iterating based on how people are using it. Because obviously, I can't possibly assume that people will use it the way I think they're going to use it. I won't know that until months of people telling me this sucks.
The great thing about AI is that you can test everything really thoroughly.
Yes.
Testability is like one of the biggest advantages that you get.
Yeah, it's amazing. So how does with state chains, back to Spark, because now knowing it's state chains, I have a completely different impression of it. Now I'm kind of like full on. That's fantastic.
what gave you kind of the initial impression, like how, because perception
Of Spark?
is big part of
Yeah.
the Bitcoin discourse. Like it's all about perceptions now. Like
Yeah.
there's no real talk. Like it's all about even the kind of the filter discussion or every new discourse that is happening on the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's everything is kind of people are talking past each other, and it's all about perception and not actual technical detail.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just hard when something is a service. Like, I'm inclined to think that it's like a bridge, and I thought it was more like what's the one that gets used a lot? I think Aqua Wallet uses the service that bridges between Lightning, Liquid, and on chain.
They do both swaps. It's what we do
Bolts,
with the
bolt swaps. Yeah. So like basically they're talking to somebody else who like takes a fee, and I thought it was like kind of like a marriage between like you as the LSP to somebody else as a service that's like bridging these things and doing stuff, which and don't get me wrong, I really like bolts, but you know, the fees add up when you're talking to users. Sometimes there's a delay, you know, especially if you're going on chain.
No, Spark is a real layer 2. And look, it's a new layer 2 implementation. So,
and I did not realize it was sovereign and self-custodial. I didn't realize it had the ARC type aspect. I thought it was more of a like semi-trusted setup, especially with offline being possible.
Yeah. The only thing that it doesn't have that ARC has, it's like deterministic settlement, meaning when an ARC round is taking place, then you have assurance that you are settled on chain.
Yeah, because of the connector covenant element of it. Yeah,
there's an actual round. There's an actual on-chain transaction that you are part of as a user.
Your tree of transaction. Yeah.
Yes, and with Spark you don't have that. You have a way to always unitarily exit, but you don't know that you're settled. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what it means, because you can settle and you can spend the funds, but you don't have kind of the on-chain assurance of settlement at any given time. You don't have that in ARC as well with the out-of-round payment. So you have that only after a round. That's another issue.
So for the audience, just to kind of pull back on like what I know about state chains and stuff, is that you kind of have this proof that you can take it to the chain, kind of like a Lightning channel, right? But you have to compete you potentially have to compete, right? There's a time delay, and then there's like a proof.
You're talking about the unilateral exit. Yes.
The unilateral exit. Yes.
It's exactly like closing a channel in Lightning.
It's exactly like closing a channel. Yeah.
Exactly like closing a channel. So you have a time lock. Basically, every time you pay someone, the unilateral exit transaction has a lower time lock than the sender. So
yes. Yeah, you'll get in first if you pay the right fee, and then so it's unilateral.
If you broadcasted your transaction, you should get before exactly like closing a channel. When someone closes a channel, they close the previous state of the channel. They can steal your funds unless you broadcast a justice transaction.
Exactly.
And that's the same case with unilateral exit on state chains.
Yes. But it's a little bit different with ARC, because this is the same condition basically in an interim payment, like while payments are happening in between settlements. But then every time they do a round periodically, they stamp it.
Exactly.
They stamp it, and then basically there is one UTXO where all the users have their branch and their sub-owned UTXO of whatever their amount is, and that's done. Nobody else can take it. Nobody can. If it takes you too long to go to chain, it doesn't really matter. Like that one's
But that's
settled.
a temporary state.
But it's temporary. As soon as you receive another transaction, it's back up. Yeah.
Most of the ARC activity will take place out of rounds.
Yeah. Overwhelming majority will take out of rounds. Yeah.
So in between rounds, you have basically the same trust profile.
Yeah. So, but again, that's all fascinating. It's like I'm totally happy to have a significant amount of money in Lightning channels now because it's ready to go, it's fast, and it gives me that unilateral exit. And I'm seriously, I'm so happy to find out that it's state chains. I really didn't know it was state chains.
It's a state chain that works. Like it's better than
It's a state chain that works. It's a state chain that works. And I'm obviously it's because I have a technical understanding of state chains. I did kind of a deep dive 2 years ago or whatever it was. And I thought it was a fascinating idea.
Shout out to Ruben.
Yeah, shout out to Ruben, man. But I'll tell you, one of the big things to me was that like you actually had to generate all of the subcoins. You had to break down the entire tree. I was like, oof. Like, I mean, sure, computers are great, and we can do that, but like, how big does that tree get if? Yeah,
it's not just that. If I go to a merchant, if I can pay for coffee, unless I have the exact change, the system doesn't work, right?
Yeah. That's the thing, is that if you have to break it down to where you can always have exact change, how big does the space of those coins get?
Huge.
The different bills. That was always my thing, is like this is a brilliant idea. I love this, but how the hell do you do that with 2,000 Bitcoin or something?
By the way, Spark is very sophisticated in that regard, that it allows you to predefine your, although they can always split on demand, you can also define your strategy, your kind of tree strategy on how you want to be optimized for payments, for unilateral exit, and it works awesome. Really well. Yeah.
So you basically have UTXO management off chain. That's awesome. That's awesome. How does offline work with state chains? How do you receive payments in that? And specifically, how do you do it with Lightning? So let's say you're using state chains and I'm normal on Nostr. I'm using the Primal wallet, right?
Yeah.
And I want to pay your Nostr key. How and/or is that easily doable that I could send you 21 sats on Spark?
Well, through the Breeze SDK, you can do that very easy.
Hell yes. You make me happy, Roy. You make me happy, Roy. I appreciate the work. Because
it's super easy. Like Spark has the built-in Bolt 11 support. But part of the Breeze SDK, we add all the fully featured Lightning artifacts, where you can do LNURL, and you get a Lightning address out of the box, and you can set the Lightning address to your own domain just with a simple configuration. So you have all you need in order to build a fully featured Lightning applications. Soon it will have Nostr Wallet Connect. So it's really kind of a one-stop shop for all your Lightning Nostr payment needs. Focused on payments. I won't do social, and I won't do kind of generic stuff. But
whatever. Payments is all I'm concerned about.
Value transfer stuff, like it's all, we give you one-stop shop to do whatever you want. We're also having a new feature plan that I haven't discussed it publicly, but why not? Let's do it now. We will have a stable balance. We'll have a stable balance feature where you can kind of fix your balance to a stable coin, but pay with that balance to Lightning and receive payments in Lightning. That's another feature that we're going to build into the SDK. So people complaining about volatility and stuff like that. Okay, and it's not a custodial solution like stable sats that the Blinkfall folks has developed. It's a fully non-custodial solution. So a lot of cool stuff are coming, and I suggest people to kind of keep their finger on the pulse, because things are changing rapidly, and every release we're releasing a new thing, and it's cooler than the previous thing. We are talking about Seedless Restore. It's gonna It's going to come in one of our next iteration. A lot of stuff are coming. It's mind blowing how the technology has improved, and it's all because of we have a Spark and other technologies that are kind of really taking the user experience to the next level.
That's awesome.
I just wanted to answer your actual question about Lightning. Spark, as part of the Spark entity, there's an entity called an SSP, a Spark Service Provider.
Service provider, yeah.
That functions like an LSP. So when you want to receive a payment, you as a user, you basically share your pre-image with the Spark operators, and the pre-image is sharded across the operator. So a single operator does have your full pre-image, so it can collude with the SSP. So think about your pre-image split into multiple parts. These parts are being shared with the Spark operator. When you receive a payment through the SSP talks to the Spark entity that talks to the Spark operator in order to consolidate the pre-image into a single pre-image in order to settle the payment. So it's settled offline. The SSP receive the funds, and you have the funds because you're working with the Spark operators to claim your funds when you go back online. And everything is completely trustless.
That's amazing. And another question is, so you share a pre-image. Is this something that can be derived to additional pre-images, or can that pre-image be used over again? Like let's say I go offline and then like something gets like super popular in the next 2 hours before I come back online and I receive 100,000 payments. Is that doable?
Yeah. It scales really, really well. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. One of the things that Spark has is they also have a stable token platform. So people are issuing meme coins on Spark. And
why not? That's the place you do it. Quit doing it on chain, do it on Spark.
Exactly.
Right?
But it's also a good stress test for the entire
Sell
Spark.
your dick butts on Stark.
It's a great stress test mechanism because you get this. They got kind of millions of transactions because of these stupid meme coins, and it broke Spark. So they had to kind of scale,
awesome.
And they scaled.
That's great. Yeah. I love it when something breaks and they figure out like, oh shit, this didn't scale to this, and then fix it. And it's funny, of all the like meme coins and all this, even stable coins or whatever, like some of the things that people like detract from that, there's two things that, especially with the way we're thinking and we're building, absolutely had to be provided or like an option. Is I think people forget that like a meme coin or a token or whatever is also a gift card. Like that's what a gift card is.
That's exactly a gift card. Yeah.
Like I want to be able to sell gift cards, be able to receive something that you can only use in a certain context.
We haven't talked about Cashew and eCash tokens, but
we will go to that in just a second. I want to hold that thought. Hold it, because I definitely want to go there. But the other thing I was thinking about is that like a bunch of people like stablecoin, like they're all poo-poo on stablecoins, and I'm like, people need to be able to, like, there could not be a better way to bridge the gap than letting people use a currency they know they are comfortable with, that things are priced, that their life is priced in, on the rails of the better technology, on the rails of the better money, so that their interaction with the old is exactly like the interaction with the one that's going to replace it.
Unless it affects the user experience of Bitcoin.
Oh, sure. Like that caveat definitely needs to be there. But I mean it in the context of like I want to support, like stablecoins are a huge market. USDT or whatever is massive. It's the only quote unquote crypto that has a use case, a success around the world. And it's also the only other one. That's a fact. That's a simple fact.
The market has spoken. Stablecoins are processing I don't know, $1 trillion to $2 trillion a month in terms of volume. Like,
whoa, is it that big? Good
yeah.
God, I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah, trillion. It's in the trillions now.
That's crazy. But like for like Paradrive and stuff, like obviously I want people to be able to use Bitcoin, but obviously stablecoins as well, because this is something that people in, potentially any country or across any completely unbanked can receive. And in their scope of what's valuable or what a good currency is, that their currency's lost 80% this year. The dollar is magic to them, like they and then to be able to have that without needing to be able to connect to a US bank or to have, cross border payments without any of the cross border headache. And KYC, quote unquote, on the back end, like not KYC front. Like that's how I think about like stable coins and like centralized fiat tokens like that, is that you can just create an account and receive the payment and like all that stuff. But there may be censorship on the back end if there is apparent indication of like, oh, you're a drug lord or something, and police and, that stuff get involved. But it's fundamentally different from like, I have to fill out this form. I have to tell you what I'm going to use it for. I have to, scan give you a DNA scan and a sperm sample and 2 copies of my ID just to get a bank account.
It's not just that the market has spoken and retail users have spoken. It's just that also fintech companies are moving to stablecoins, and Stripe is doing strategic acquisitions and PayPal and any traditional fintech vendor is moving to stablecoin rails. Like, it's not there's no question about the need of stablecoin and on the fact that stablecoin improved the previous traditional rails. Like, that's a no-brainer. The question is if stablecoins can compete with Bitcoin when it comes to value transfer. Meaning, is it possible to do kind of the value transfer use cases that I'm talking about? Would it be possible to implement them on top of stablecoins, or Bitcoin is the only solution? Because I think because stablecoin is a representation of fiat, and because stablecoins are essentially run by centralized companies, these are going to get regulated as well. Yeah. And then you'll have friction on the stablecoin level. You already have that in some cases.
Somewhat. Yeah.
But it's going to get worse over time. And then the only competition and the only coin that can bring the permissionless, open, monetary, neutral, decentralized value proposition is Bitcoin. But it doesn't mean, by the way, that you won't be able to convert to stablecoin on the edge, meaning the stable balance feature that I was mentioning before. We will give you, as part of the Breeze SDK, we'll give you a way to transfer, send and receive Bitcoin. But once the Bitcoins are in your balance, they will be automatically converted to a stable coin in order to avoid volatility.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What do you need more than that? Like,
yeah. Let's go back to the Cashew thing.
Yeah.
Tell me about Cashew. How does this integrate with, like, let's say again, Nostr being the example. Somebody wants to send me eCash. How many different conversions? That's like one of the only things too, is that like, somebody can send eCash directly to your public key on Nostr, and then like that can literally only be unlocked that way. But when I have a Lightning address, it's like, okay, how many bridges and conversions and stuff are in the mix to get that from A to B?
It depends on the token implementation. So we have now, we ran a challenge called Time to Build, where we had a prize pool for developers to implement stuff on top of the Breeze SDK, and a few implementation. I think 3 implementations were to use the Breeze SDK as the backend for minting eCash tokens.
Okay.
So you can mint on top of whatever let's say we give you a resist decay with Spark, you can link on top of Spark and you're done, basically.
That would basically be eCash with proof of reserves.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Wait, so you can do eCash with unilateral exit and proof of reserves? How does that work?
Still custodial.
You need to trust the mint. It's still custodial. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's still custodial, but in the backend, it's not minted out of thin air. It's minted on top of a Spark address that everyone can audit.
That's amazing. Because I thought I talked about this randomly as like a tangent in one of the speeches I gave. I think it was like BitBlock Boom last year or something. Because I couldn't believe, I was surprised that no eCash mint had done basically a hash table of like all of like.
Yeah, proof of reserve. You want the proof of reserve.
A proof of reserve that I put one Bitcoin into this UTXO. And I can even time lock it for 6 months and just be like, every 6 months, I'm going to refresh this. And, your proof of like, these are real eCash, real Bitcoin eCash, it exists for this, that expires in 6 months, and then I'll refresh it and you'll get a new one. But that rather than just like me minting eCash and giving it to you and you wondering if the Bitcoin's there, is that in the root or in the op return or whatever, I have a hash of the entire tree of the eCash that's there, and you can prove that you're just a part of that, and it relates to that one Bitcoin, and that's it. And obviously, it's still custodial. Obviously, I could still not give it back to you, but I didn't inflate it. Yes. I'm not rehypothecating. That's not possible because you have the hash connecting exactly to that one Bitcoin. And I was like, why has that's such a huge, like a vast step up on understanding what it is that you're getting and exactly what you're trusting. And I couldn't believe nobody had done that.
But you couldn't do that on Lightning, because how can you provide that proof of reserve from your Lightning node?
Very true.
But now you can do that.
But you can on stage. Now you can do that. Yeah. Now you can do that. Man, that's awesome.
And it's coming. So it can be kind of the basis of the only question that remains open with eCash is who will run the mints. But I think it was Max Webster that told me, well, we're getting closer to the day that AI will run mints. Yeah. So. I think it's an exciting area to search and explore as well. And eCash essentially is another subnetwork of Lightning, because basically, what's the interface of eCash? Lightning as well.
Yeah, it's Lightning. It's all Lightning. It's
also the common language when it comes to eCash. So it's the protocol.
And again, it's the only reason eCash works.
Yes,
because Lightning.
Exactly. So it already speaks Lightning. So now it will use Lightning to mint. Then we gone full circle. Yes, but it will give you better privacy, for example, that you don't get in Spark right now, and it will give you an ability to physically give the artifact to someone else. That you can do that with eCash. So there's a lot of advantages of eCash in that regard, but the design space is crazy. So, and not to mention, I haven't even spoken about the thing that you can do with offline scripting with Arc. The stuff that the arcade script that the Arc Labs guys are working on. That's also crazy times. I know it seems like I think people kind of are tired of following the technology advances. Yeah, I get a lot of people kind of when they talk to me about the payment channels or the Breeze wallet or like stuff that are really kind of are honestly boring to me. Like we're so far beyond that in terms of usage, in terms of technology, in terms of product market fit, in terms of go-to. Like we're in a different place.
Mhm.
So I know there was a lot of excitement around Lightning, the core, running an Umbrel, running a node, payment channels, but there's so many things that are being released, and so keep up with the technology. There's a clock by Alten Labs that is another very fascinating protocol. The design space is just getting crazier and fascinating, and the solutions that are being built are far more robust and scalable. So, yeah.
And importantly, it seems like we're finally, especially with this subnetwork of Lightning model, whether it be eCash, state chains, ARC, whatever, is we're finally getting to the UX layer. Like we're
Yes.
looking at layers 3 and 4 kind of in the stack of like where things are operating, but we're finally getting to the one that makes sense from the user's perspective.
Exactly.
Is that there's no upfront, it's just
You can
instant,
focus on just building your service or application.
your tool.
You don't need to think about Lightning at all. Yes.
Yeah. And that's awesome. That's like a super critical thing. And I think we brought this up before the show. But I can't remember exactly, but you had mentioned that, it was because I just generally asked about the price. And you had said that you thought it had stopped. We could not predict or really see much about it in relation to the users and like how much it's being used.
Yeah.
And that it got boring. Is that you think people are, and this really hit me because I'm like, no, I totally feel that too. Is that nobody really cares to talk about Bitcoin? It's not the cool thing to talk about anymore. It's not edgy. It's just like, oh,
Yes.
it's Bitcoin.
You don't have enough memes that the culture is not interesting. And yes, definitely. But boring is part of being mainstream, right? Like
Boring is part of being mainstream. How do you think about that in the context of Bitcoin's adoption? Because I feel like being edgy and interesting and different is kind of a big part of Bitcoin's, I guess, narrative success.
Yeah. We lost it. Yeah, we lost
and we
it.
lost that.
We lost it. There are several reasons that, like, I didn't do sociological analysis of why we lost it, but we lost it because we lost the developers. Basically, developers are moved very quickly from Bitcoin to Ethereum, and we also in the past year we've been sold out to the Wall Street guys with ETFs and kind of the administration. So we don't have kind of the cypherpunk. We lost a lot of the cypherpunk culture. So you don't have a cool dev community. You don't have a cool cypherpunk community. The culture is very hard, and you see people are struggling.
There's a lot of dilution. Yeah,
people are struggling to voice themselves inside the Bitcoin ecosystem. Like you need to have a certain type in order to be heard. Very alpha, very technical as well. Like you can be non-technical and contribute. So the culture is hard. So we're losing people like smart, intelligent, cool people to other ecosystems, and the people that I don't know if I haven't seen you in any conference last year, but I'm doing kind of the conference circus of Bitcoin. It's the same people, basically, almost no newcomers, same faces, same discussions even. So on the one hand, I think maybe we don't need community support or ecosystem support because we kind of cross the chasm and we have enough people to bring this technology to mainstream. Like the people that are already in Bitcoin are enough. Then the energy that we harnessed and the force that we have is enough to bring Bitcoin to mainstream. That's one option. And the other option is to make Bitcoin cool again by actually using Bitcoin. And that's basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying kind of to simplify the developer experience to bring more people building cool stuff on Bitcoin and to develop a community that will take it to the next level and hopefully won't talk only about opcodes, but also talk about solutions, buildings, AI integrations, and kind of make Bitcoin exciting again in that regard. Bitcoin needs to be exciting because it provides a utility that no other technology provides, the value transfer technology, and the value transfer technology needs to be embedded in every application in the world, period. That's super exciting. But there's a lot of education to do in order to education. I'm not talking about orange billing. I'm talking about kind of, it's very early and you need kind of market education in terms of the tool. For PearDrive, if you don't use something like the Breeze SDK in order to integrate payments, like who will?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I think every app developer in the world should use Bitcoin and should embed Bitcoin payments in their applications. So I think we're going to make Bitcoin exciting again. But we're definitely in a very weird, boring state, I would say.
I think we're in the what is it, the doldrums, right? Is that we're waiting for, because I read this on the show maybe like 3 years ago now. But it was like the end of orange pilling. And I think it was well aware that like we were on that trend then. I think where we are now is kind of like,
that's my article, guy. Orange pilling.
Wait, was that your article?
Yeah.
Is that your article? Oh my God. Because I knew there was one with Hector that was talking about orange pilling too. So I knew it was one of those, but I loved that one's yours. But the end of orange pilling, and then there was a so we have like the orange pilling argument of like, okay, we've saturated everybody who, that's your article that cracks me up. We've saturated everybody who cares about that you can explain the monetary economics and they'll be like super into it. They're like the ideologically aligned to it. We've hit that audience. Then from a technical perspective, everybody who wants to see new cool stuff being built or whatever, it's like, yeah, all that stuff is great, but we had found those people and saturated those narratives and those environments. And I think the only way out, the only way to break into the next era is prove those things.
Exactly.
Is prove those things in action, is like give it to people.
Exactly. I call it manifesting the Bitcoin utility. And the problem with the Bitcoin ecosystem right now is that we keep using the same techniques that we use early on in order to get
new people. Yeah. And that's not it.
And you see it. Yeah. You see it. Every time I got like there used to, when I went to a conference, it used to be like an explosion of energy. It was like you can feel the electricity in the air every time you went in the early days of Bitcoin development. Now
it's kind of like old friends getting together.
Yes, exactly. That's the only reason.
What's up?
Only reason, like to maintain existing relationships. That's the only reason to go to conference. And we lost that excitement.
Yeah, but I think we can get it back.
Yes,
I think we are going to get it back in a whole different way.
It's a good thing. I'm not saying it is a bad thing. I think it's a phase. It's the phase it was supposed to happen because you grow up and you're not as cool as you used to be. But then, But then you bring cool kids to the world, right? And they are the actual cool thing that you do. Yeah. So we need to. We need to bear children. Basically, that's what we need to do now.
Yeah. Love it. I have already kept you for 2 hours and 15 minutes. This might be a good place to end, actually. Was there any other man, I could really go because you had brought something up just a minute ago that I was like, man, that's another 40-minute conversation. I don't even know if I should remember what it was so that we don't accidentally get into it. But was there anything else, any other major thing? Because I'm going to be looking at this far more seriously now. I do have a question actually. So one of the things about ARC is that I had considered that obviously we could just implement something else, but down the road I would like to actually be a participant in this and maybe even be an ARC service provider. And in the same context with state chains, is Spark totally open source and something where there's a daemon that can be run and like you can be a Spark service provider? But I know Spark is like the company also. So like how does that relationship work out between their code?
The company is LightSpark. The project is Spark.
LightSpark. Okay.
And LightSpark is running a Spark entity that is comprised of the various Spark operators and an SSP. And they run the SSP. It's on the roadmap to open up the SSP, so you'll be able to function as an SSP. Currently, everything is open source. So theoretically, you can run your own Spark, but the SSP component isn't open source. The SSP component isn't open source. The interface is known, so you can build your own SSP, but they didn't open source their own SSP implementation, and that's because they're using proprietary LightSpark implementation in their SSP.
Gotcha.
But it's not. We took a look at the SSP interface, but it's a simple interface, relatively simple interface to build. You just need to know how to operate a node in order to facilitate the payments. But from an implementation standpoint, there's not a lot of work. So you can run your own Spark. You'll be able to function as an SSP in the existing Spark entity in the future. And it's open source. So you can do whatever you want.
Sweet. And how's the fee model in it, out of curiosity?
The fee model is for Lightning. So currently the in-Spark payments are free, but they will introduce some kind of a fee model later on. Will be cheaper than Lightning because you don't have any liquidity constraints. For Lightning, they take a 0.2 to receive, 0.25 to send.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I've felt like for a while that it almost makes sense. It might be a little bit different with ARC just because you're constantly going to chain to settle. You have the rounds. But I've always thought that like there might be a full model that's just the Lightning Bridge fee, just the 0.2% in and 0.25% out for Lightning, and everything inside of the Spark or whatever is free, just because, again, it's not really used. There's so much you can't do without Lightning, and
that's currently the fee model. That's exactly the
I wonder if that's
actually
model. Sustainable in the long run, even with like a lot of users.
So.
I'd be curious. You don't think so?
No, I think they will monetize the in-Spark operations as well, just because the primary use case isn't Bitcoin. The primary use case is stablecoin.
That's a good point.
If someone else is minting the stablecoin, but is using Spark as a rail, they need to monetize.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. No, you're perfect. You're right.
That's one model. Another model that they will allow, but it's open, so it's everyone can mint on Spark. Another option is to kind of gatekeep the minting and to allow minting of stablecoins or tokens that they can do rev share with the issuer. That's another model that you can put in place, but I don't think they'll go to that model. I think they will keep Spark permissionless for issuing tokens as well, and they will take a small fee for making the transactions. Why not?
Yeah, I think that makes more sense than the revenue share model, just because like it doesn't really matter. You're agnostic.
You want to build
exactly. You have an extremely simple metric to like Like literally, it's just your transaction load. Like it's like bandwidth, right? Is that you don't have to think about why or what bandwidth is happening. It just is,
Also, the regulatory issue that you mentioned before, that's very important. Like if it's in infrastructure, it needs to be neutral. They can't hide behind the neutrality if the regulator will come to them and say, well, but you allow only specific issuers to mint tokens. Yeah. So I think it's more natural from an infrastructure standpoint.
Gotcha. Well, man, is there anything else you want to mention here at the end? Maybe about Breeze article. I think there's an article that I haven't read recently.
The last article I released was on stablecoins. Why stablecoins is only an evolution but not a revolution.
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't read that one yet. I need to put that one in the evolution, not revolution. I don't think I did. I did read it, but I don't think I have it on the show. Did you see me post it on the show? I don't know anymore. Too much shit. I'll check.
It's relatively new. Like I don't think you even had time.
It was December, so
I released it at the end of December. So it's very, I think a day before Christmas or something like that. So it's relatively new. And I'm gonna release you remember the abacus exam analogy that I did for Lightning, like where we had.
Oh yeah, I love that analogy.
So I'm gonna do something similar for Spark, just to explain how things are working behind the scenes. Breeze is there. Like I recommend everyone. I mean everyone, not just developers. Everyone today, everyone is a developer. Like we've discussed at the beginning of the show. Use the Breeze SDK, build value transfer experiences into your apps and services, and it's only gonna get better. We're gonna bring seedless restore. We're gonna bring stable balance. It's the present is bright, but the future going to be brighter. Like it's really coming. Everything is coming together.
Sweet. That's awesome. I can't believe I wasn't aware of these updates, and I try to keep up with.
Yeah, it's on
what you're building. I try to keep up with Breeze really well, and I just can't. I don't believe it. You can't believe I didn't realize it was state chains. Because I have been waiting for new news on state chains. That's one of those things that I was like, Mercury was cool. I used Mercury and I was like, this is a solution. This is an arc,
I think it's a good thing that you didn't know that Spark is a state chain, because we stopped talking about technology and
started talking about the service.
Exactly.
Or the user experience, what you can do.
That's another evolution but for people that have been in Bitcoin since the get-go, they're used to a specific discourse. So I find it, I experienced that a lot with people that kind of lost touch with the new updates. Also, when it comes to ARC, like people can tell you, okay, there's an ARC thing, but they don't know how it works exactly. People know that there's Alten Labs and there's Glock, but they don't know how it works exactly. People know about Spark, but they don't know how it works exactly. So, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is. We'll try to do our best in order to educate the market and be completely transparent about what we do, where we headed. But I'm happy to see all the projects that are being built on top of the Breeze SDK. We have over 50 implementations right now. Let's hope for that in end of 2026 we'll have 500 and then 5,000.
Let's go for 1,000. I think we'll go for 1,000 in 2026. Let's push. Yeah, I want to help. I want to help.
Let's do it.
But I'm excited too, just because I feel like that's the way to bring the energy back. I mean, it just is. This was always the only way to get to that next step.
Yes. Yeah.
Is to prove it, is to manifest. And then that is this era. And I also think that's the move. Like there's only so much there's only so much growth or so much adoption, so to speak, that you can get if you're having somebody to have to believe in adoption.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. If something requires education, it doesn't scale.
It doesn't scale.
Mm-hmm.
It's already it already has a hard limit.
Yes.
And
exactly.
Nobody knows how to use the internet. Like nobody knows how that shit works.
Yeah. No
Why
one
does it
knows
work?
how VPN works, but everyone uses a
Yeah.
VPN.
Yeah. So that's where we are. So build the VPN, build the internet, build the car, you know?
Build the Uber, build the OnlyFans, build the Spotify, build the ParaDrive, build solutions that solves real issues, but know that now as part of your toolkit, you have a way to transfer value, which you didn't have using fintech, stablecoins, or whatever.
Man, I really hope we get to be about what we're building gets to be a part of this. I really hope that it makes a difference and it does something really cool.
It's not a question of if, guys, it's when.
It's when.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep trying to make it. I'm building something for me too at the same time. You know, like that's the only reason I'm really building it. So I don't have any reason to stop. I'll just make it better if it's not good enough.
That's the infinite game you're playing.
Hell yeah. Dude, thank you, Roy. Always great to catch up. Fantastic show.
Let's not wait for another 3 years to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll read your piece. I'll have that one. I love the evolution, not revolution, because that was, again, one of those things where I think you always hit the nail on the head and you have such a great framing of it, articulating where we are and what piece goes where. So that'll be on the show soon. I'll send you a link.
Cool. Talk to you later, guy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. There is a lot to dig into, a lot of stuff that I'm going to be checking out, and my experience with it, I will get to confirm, deny, just tell you how it is that I have gone about doing things. Hopefully, we'll be doing it relatively soon. We've been having some other side issues that are kind of unrelated to all of it. Getting communications. Hope to be back up and running with everybody here towards the end of this week. And we might actually go hard into this and just kind of run with the excitement about the new Breeze SDK and Spark and the fact that there's a state chain implementation that solves the big hurdles of the previous state chain implementations. And in doing so, I should have something to report and hopefully something to show you this is how you can implement code that you could give to Opus or Claude and make use of. I hope to be a benefit on all of that front. And then maybe some feedback for Roy and the Spark team and that sort of thing. Just to reiterate, this is the time to build. This is the time to walk the walk because we have the tools now. Even if this isn't perfect, I think we have reached the era where it can be made that way. We just have to work out the kinks, dot the I's and cross the T's and realize exactly how to implement these things for the user and where the best role is for us as node runners and infrastructure providers and people who have been here long enough that we know the nuances of building and working with this tech to cover those gaps for the user and give them an experience where they don't have to think about what the word state chain is because that's not relevant, or what an ARC or a covenant or a connector or UTXO. They just need to know that they can receive payment, they can send payment, and they can do so cheaply, easily, and quickly, and in a way that just feels like the future from having to deal with the horrific situation of banking and finance and this old world that just creates so much friction and so much headache and so much red tape that it's almost not worth the experience in so many different environments. And so that's our job. If you've got an idea and you want to build something, sit down with AI and build something. Hopefully I can help provide some of those tools as well, and you can build it peer-to-peer on top of ParaDrive. So with that, I have to get back to work, and I'll keep you updated here on Bitcoin Audible. We will read the best, talk to the best, and build the best. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out our amazing sponsors, Ledn.io, Ledn.io for Bitcoin-backed loans, Synonym and PubKey for building a protocol stack for re-decentralizing the web. They have some really fascinating pieces, and they are incredibly easy to vibe code with. They've recently made some changes to make it better for that. Link in the details if you haven't checked that out yet, as well as getchroma.co for red light therapy and just general light health. They have some amazing products that I swear by. And lastly, the HRF, the Oslo Freedom Forum, the Financial Freedom Report, indispensable resources and an incredible crew over there doing insane work, fighting for freedom and financial sovereignty around the world. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to check out my links. I have affiliates. I have places to buy Bitcoin. Go to River. I've got a link for them. Fold. I've got an affiliate for them, which all of these things, you use my links and you go to my resources. Not only do I put them there to help you guys out because they're the stuff that I use and I really, really like, but it's also a huge help for the show. And shout out to the Audionauts. Audionauts, if you haven't checked yet, go to the Keek group or the Telegram group. We have a short pre-show for this episode as we had for a couple of the previous chat episodes. So stay tuned for that if you're in the Audionauts. And thanks for supporting the show, guys. Thanks for sharing it out with everybody. Thanks for the zaps on Fountain and Nostr and streaming sats and all that stuff. Check us out on Fountain, subscribe to the show, and I'll catch you on the next one. Until then, this is Bitcoin Audible. I am Guy Swan, and that is my 2 sats.